Any public comment? Being none, announcement items to be discussed in closed session.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the board will be convening in closed session for, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to subdivision D1 of Government Code 54956.9, Corona versus Verderosa, Gady, Horton, Jones, Montgomery et al., U.S. District Court, Eastern District of California, case number 214 CV 01473 MCEAC, and to receive a report on claims. The employee performance evaluation of public defender Rita Giannotti will be delayed to another meeting. She was unable to make it today.
She had a trial scheduled and is due in court. Is in court.
And we don't have any. That's it.
Okay, let's go and close session.
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, we pray today for your ever-enduring guidance. We ask you to cloak us in wisdom and fortitude, that we may disperse our knowledge and facts intelligently among all humanity of whom we serve. Amen. The announcement of items discussed in closed session.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The board met in closed session to discuss existing litigation pursuant to subdivision D1 of Government Code Section 54956.9, Corona versus Verderosa, Gady, Horton, Jones, Montgomery et al., United States District Court, Eastern District of California, case number 214 CV 01473 MCEAC, and also to have a report on claims. There was no reportable action.
Agenda approval, additions and regulations. Any changes for Richard?
I'd request that we adjourn the meeting today in memory of Barbara Nelson.
I have Kareem Fitzgerald and Kiefer Crosby.
Okay, with those additions, we have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Public comment. Anybody from the public wish to comment?
I got nothing.
You don't have to admit that. Okay, everybody's happy. Board member reports. Start off with Tom.
I have nothing.
Jeff?
Nothing.
Good. Aaron?
Yeah.
Good.
On Thursday, I went down to Reading and attended a meeting on held by the State Water Resource Control Board on raising regulatory action projects. I think I talked about it last meeting.
I read there's a good article in that.
Yeah. And anyway, it was very good attendance. As a matter of fact, they had so much attendance, they opened up an afternoon session as well. There was they had a very large turnout. It was in Reading at the board chambers meeting. It was basically all the seats were taken, and they had many speakers in them. They still got one, and then they limited all the speakers to 3 minutes apiece, and they went over the time allotment that they had. And everybody was against it. It's a bad deal. The one thing that did kind of surprise me is that they do admit that they're a fee-based organization. But yet when asked if they're going to, how much bureaucracy this is going to create with the implementation of this rule, they said, well, it won't, because you look at the governor's budget, it's still the same. But yes, what they can do with all this money that they're going to collect. I mean, it's just, it's a bad deal. It's a real bad deal. They've already got 303D listings. But yet they're not going to take care of those because it's too expensive and too time consuming, so they're just going to go after this other stuff because they get they're not basing any of this stuff on the science. They're going to do a one-size-fits-all. But yet, you go to Crescent City, they get 60 inches of rainfall a year, and you go down south and even around here we're at 13 inches or 3 or 4 inches a year. They're going to have a one-size-fits-all for everything. So It's gonna be a very bad deal, and there was a lot of excellent comments made. So whether they, even though it was a listening session, whether they heard it or not, it's a different story. So we need to make comments ourselves and submit to this, hopefully.
What you'll find is this is an administrative bureaucracy that was put on notice a while back that they're not going to be subsidized out of the general fund and that they have to generate revenue to offset whatever their costs are. And this goes back to actually when Schwarzenegger was governor. That was around 2003-04 is when it kind of came to a head. And when I got on the Lassen board, was on there for about 2.5 years. This was in the formative stage, and it was interesting to me because even amongst the board members, they were split. I thought it was a terrible idea, but they and some of the other board members as well. But this bureaucracy, they kind of operate independent of the board. I mean, they are a power unto themselves, and this was their, they were basically told by the governor and the legislature that we're not going to support maintaining the workforce, so we need to come up with the monies to pay for it. And that's when they started, they tested it out in the Lassen region, just to kind of work out the mechanics of how to do it. And it was going to, from that point, be populated to the other 8 regions, of which now Central Valley is probably in the forefront, because it's one of the largest regions. It probably has the most ag in that region, because it runs pretty much from Siskiyou County all the way down to Bakersfield. The whole Central Valley is prime ag land. And
Well, they've had 3 of these listening sessions. They had one in Reading, they had one prior to Reading down in San Luis Obispo, and then they were having their other one, I don't know, Friday, I think, over in Bishop.
But it really kind of boils down to is that they're looking at extorting, I guess, from the ranchers the monies to cover the cost of the regulatory authority that they have.
Well, they're already doing that with the farmers with the irrigated lands management program they got. I mean, that first started, it was, I don't know, to join our coalition up there, I think it was $50 an acre, and now it's since 2000, and I think Jim said it was when they first come in, but anyway, this year here, it's $2 an irrigated acre.
Well, after the fire situation in Tahoe, when they were extorting those people and then bundling fire management along with the guy that was putting a pier in off of his property, and they went after when the contractor nicked the sewer line that none of the agencies knew was even there, but they were, but they felt that the contractor who had been operating in the basin for 30, 40 years, should have known, and so therefore, and the mistake he made is he didn't call USA Digs, and they went after them on that. But after those 2 proceedings, I just finally, and then listening to him trying to put diapers on cows up in the open grazing areas, I just said, I'm out of here. It's just crazy.
It's like the
It doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, like the NECO up there on the irrigated land, which is what I'm a member of up there with the irrigated lands deal. They've been monitoring for 13 years basically from the clear up at Alturas, clear down through the Bernie. And there's only been 2 exceedances for the E. coli. That's one of their big concerns is the bacteria. And both those exceedances, they traced back. One was for the Alturas wastewater discharge. The Alturas sewer ponds leaked out and contaminated the river, had a high spike. And the other high spike was the migratory birds in the springtime.
Yep.
All the ducks and geese took E. coli. And those are the only 2 exceedances they've ever had. They've never traced anything back to cattle. And the sad thing is the general public is they don't realize that everybody has E. coli, but there's different strains of E. coli. And the grass-fed cattle, the cattle eating grass, they don't have the bad E. coli. Now, if you feed the cattle grain, that's where your bad E. coli comes in, where the humans accept. It's just interesting.
Those cattle aren't out in the range and even subject to this.
Yeah, but they're scared the raindrop's going to come down and hit a cow turd or a horse turd or a sheep pellet and put it in the stream, and then it's going to kill everybody downstream.
My point is, being fed grain, there is a dry loss, feed loss. No, rain.
So anyway, it's going to be a bad deal, guys, if they get this through. So.
Okay, anything else? Board member reports, if not, I've moved into commission consent calendar.
The minutes need to be pulled off because Supervisor Alba was absent, so that you're going to department reports.
So we'll take off G1.
Yes.
G1 will not be included. Anybody else have anything to remove from separate discussion?
I have G3 just for.
Okay. Anything else? We have a motion to approve the consent calendar with G1 taken off for the next week or whatever, and G3 for technical discussion.
No, G1 can be today, Supervisor Alba just fixed it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay, we take up everything to G1 and 3.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
G1. Any discussion on the minutes? Mrs. Spencer?
You didn't remove it. I'm not sure what action, did you just pulled it?
No, I'm
Discussion?
No,
just
pull up
taking
consent.
Susan, we're not removing it, no, we're taking it up separately.
Okay. As soon as you get the handouts, the first page is a sheet we printed from the 2014 board meeting schedule, which now, with the new year, goes into the archive. Highlighted on the left-hand side, it says clerk of the board, and then it gives the duties, basically, to what the clerk of the board does for the board of supervisors. In the minutes, the county clerk has placed a heading on the agenda on G1, and that states the county clerk dash recorder is submitting these minutes, November 25th minutes, to you. I'd like that corrected in the future because the recorder has nothing to do with the minutes. The recorder may be doing the minutes. We don't know who does the minutes, but the recorder's responsibilities, according to the board, is not to have anything to do with the minutes. It is a duty of the clerk of the board. So if they could correct that in the future, just the county clerk or clerk of the board maybe as a title on an agenda item.
It comes out of the Department of Clerk Recorder, so you can't say that you only can have half a brain, you have to have the whole.
No, that's not correct, sir. That's not correct. It clearly says clerk of the board duties, the agendas and minutes.
But
That
it's
means
part of
basically,
but the clerk of the board function is part of the clerk recorder's office.
I'd like that changed to correct the agenda item as to clerk of the board agenda item. And in the future, otherwise it's going to come up every time you do it. I think this is an exception. I don't remember seeing that before. But if the board could do that. The minutes, as you can see by the highlights on the handout, the minutes are falling far behind again. And this is not the first time County Health has presented that to you. These minutes being approved to their accuracy is important not only to this board, because this shows and verifies your business, the business you took on that day. And they need to be accurate. I know they are corrected almost every time, which is good. The clerk had Mr. Outlaw voting yes on an issue last time, and he actually voted no. So there is a process to keep them current, accurate for historical record, and they need to be, because if you can't prove you voted to expend money on a certain thing, and somebody comes back and says, show me where you voted to approve those funds. And you can't. That's the whole reason for making a motion to approve these minutes, is that you're going to attest to their accuracy and for future access to the public. I mean, this is our business. This is the business you did on that particular day. April 29th minutes have still not been brought before this board. The September 23rd minutes, which probably concerns me more than the April 29th minutes not being approved, because that was the meeting you approved the Amity RFP. And since then, the RFP that's attached to this meeting, it has been altered twice, and we've brought that to your attention. The April 29th meeting, I looked at the video last night, and Susan stated that there are minutes to that meeting because Lassen County hosted that meeting, and it's a contentious meeting, and the three other counties that attended that meeting, I don't know if all of you were there.
Jeff wasn't.
Mr. Kemple wasn't there. But anyway, it's they've started accusing Lassen County of things which are on the record if you watch the video. But Susan has already admitted at one of the meetings that minutes exist, and it was a public meeting, and we need to see the minutes on that. I just don't, personally, I don't understand these gaps. It's hit and miss. I mean, who decides they're going to do one that's a month old? Who decides that they're going to, I mean, it's sloppy work. This is the business of you guys. This is our business, the public's business. And this is, you've allowed this to go on. You have control over this. You have control over getting these minutes to you in a timely manner. And I don't know, maybe you don't care, but the public cares. And you should care that your minutes are brought here timely and they're accurate. And they're there for the history of this board. You should care. And I brought this to Mr. Egan so many times, brought it to the board. And you have control over this. You can say, I want all these minutes done and up to date by 30 days. You were off 30 days. You didn't have a meeting for 30 days during Christmas time. Were these minutes brought up today? Nope. They're still as open as they were back in December.
Anybody else have any comments on the G1 minutes? If not, I have no to go through.
I move that we adopt the minutes as presented.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. We got 2 abstentions, and I vote yes, so we approve it. G30. Aaron?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a couple of questions on this. Is on IU Lane. One of the requirements is that the county maintain the road for 20-year life of the road improvement. Is this going to be put in the county maintained system?
That's one option. That's up to the board, of course. That's one option. The other option would be that we need to budget funding under our parks budget for maintenance.
Okay, so that would include the pothole repair and snow removal, etc.
Not necessarily snow removal. That would be separate. It'd be mainly the maintenance of the road. So it would be, if we got to pay, it would be minimal for a while. It would be, practically.
And then my other question was down at the bottom of the financial impact is 11.47%. Is the toll credit match? What is that?
We are, yes, there's a federal is 88.53%, And then we're eligible to apply for the toll credit, which is a state funding for a match. So if we're successful, we won't need any county match.
That's where the toll credit comes to the state.
Correct.
All right. Those were my questions. I think this is a heck of a good deal for that problem.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty competitive, but it's worth a shot. And I think we have a shot at it. We do have several acres of BLA access is off the park, so that is qualified.
What are you going to do, getting matching funds through the Rancheria and the DLM and all that stuff? I mean, is that going to be tied in together to make yourself a little more competitive, or how's that work?
No, we're asking for the match, the toll credit as a match.
What's the time frame?
Really don't know when we find out. I think it's March, April time frame.
It'll be sometime early part of this year.
Yes,
And
I
we'll
think so.
know one way or the other.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, thank you for working on this. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Madam Chairman, I move approval of P3.
Second.
Motion is second, any more discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Okay, we'll go to H1. Mr. Reardon.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, last week when the board made its annual appointments of the various committees for the county, I was appointed as the alternate for the California Home Finance Authority, JPA, and
You were it last year, so.
I know.
It took them officially.
there was a change to their bylaws last year. That may have been what necessitated this, but I'm not eligible to be on that board of directors. It's limited to supervisors. And so we need to, the board needs to appoint an alternate from you.
Well, given that, Mr. Chairman, since I was designated alternate for the board of directors for RCRC, I guess it would be appropriate that I would fill in as the alternate for that. I know for the solid waste one, because initially when I agreed to do that last year, I wasn't taking all these little secondary ones, JPAs, because we had staff that would be more appropriate to be involved there. So, but they must have changed that.
I think that's what the bylaws say.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. So with that, I would nominate Mr. Chapman to be the alternate.
Second.
I'll second.
Motion is second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. H2, Mr. Burns.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. If you all recall, sometime in, well, since the fiscal year started in July, you approved and appropriated an attendant amount to cover your approval, a contract between the Office of County Counsel and the law firm of Coda Cole. And that was, with the support of the Health and Social Services folks, the contract that provides legal representation in the CPS cases. And I received notification within the last few weeks' time that the attorney that we principally deal with, and several others, employed with Coda Cole, have split off and formed their own firm entitled Prentice, Long, and Epperson. That contract, the initial contract that we had was, albeit with Coda Cole, it really was a personal services contract whereby we don't want to take the replacement lawyer out of Coda Cole. We want to stick with the lawyer, essentially, that we've been working with, who we think is very capable and is the primary attorney listed in what is proposed to be the new agreement. Now, ordinarily, if there's a change in a contract, we might come forward and ask that an amendment be done. But when you have new parties all together, you can't do an amendment. It's a new contract. It's a new agreement because the people, the players, if you will, are different. And so we are proposing to terminate the contract with Coda Cole early, and I'm asking for your authorization to enter into the contract for essentially what is the same service, one that you had already approved, with this new outfit called Prentice, Long, and Epperson. The attorney being Margaret Long, one of the partners in the new firm. I'll tell you that this does not represent, the only change, you already made an appropriation in this fiscal year. We're well within it. We've not exceeded it. We're getting good quality service out of Margaret Long on this. I've spoken with the folks at Health and Social Services. They're more than content with her representation in the CPS matters, and it's something that I think both from the department and from us, we desire to continue. There is one change, and the change is this. I changed the term. The term on the Coda Coal contract would have ended at the end of this fiscal year, June 30th of 2015. I proposed in the new agreement that it go to June 30th, 2016. I mean, I'm still confined by whatever appropriations you make or don't make. I have the ability under the first contract and this contract to terminate either of them on written notice. And so if the appropriation for this coming fiscal year doesn't come, I can deal with that on a moment's notice. I just didn't necessarily want to be back before you in 4 months' time asking for an extension. That was my thinking that went into that, and I'm asking for your approval and happy to answer any questions that you have.
I would only suggest that if you have wording like that where you have a time frame that goes beyond the current fiscal year, which I think makes sense because it's an ongoing thing, is just insert the language subject to available appropriations or something. So if all of a sudden you don't have an appropriation, the contract's there in terms of the service, but the funding for it, it acknowledges that they're not bound, you're not bound, and we're not bound. But I think that would be one way, and I think that actually makes sense with maybe a number of these kind of contracts, is to set a defined period but subject to the annual appropriations.
Aaron, do you have a question?
I do.
Yes, sir.
So is the rate on this new contract, is it basically the same as the
It is
old rate?
precisely the same. Yes, sir.
And how is that in relation to the other firms that do the same thing? Are they competitive or?
Well, this was a personal services contract, so according to the purchasing policy, there was no bidding process required. Ms. Vanderploeg had initially retained the services of Ms. Long through Coda Coal, and to be square with you, I've been so dang impressed with her performance on those cases. She is effectively handling that caseload that I did not go out and seek out additional bids. I'll tell you that with the amount of effort that goes into those cases, I view this as, I don't want to say a screaming bargain, but a bargain. Sir.
I think you'll find with most attorney contracts that these rates here are be on the low side of the scale.
You know, the benefit to a firm, of course, is that they have a contract in place, and it's, to a certain degree, assured income, where they don't know what's going to be walking in the door in the next 2 weeks. So there is some value to that for them, to have that stability. And so there is, I think, a discounting that occurs in that area. Certainly not on the quality of representation.
Yes, thank you.
Any more
Thank you.
questions? In public? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Good morning.
Good morning. Agenda item H2 has been submitted by County Council. This contract is for legal services with Prentice, Long, and Everson. This contract is represented to you by County Council as a firm for child protective services on a, what looks to be a consulting contract or consulting purposes. At least that's the language. However, on page 10, Council has slipped in an unusual clause for other services. Normally, when the county is sued, an attorney is hired through the JPA Trindle. I don't know if Mr. Hempel is aware of that. The JPA, this JPA in particular, because I've spoken to almost everybody in the organization, has been a black hole of spending and secrecy when it comes to hiring attorneys for Lassen. They don't They just picked a name out of a hat. There's no written contracts. You don't know how much you're paying for these firms. And this contract in particular is odd because I read, and our group reads, when a legal contract comes before the board to be approved, we print it, we hand it around, we hand it to our attorney. We look at it pretty close. And we have found that this clause that's been added in there is, in fact, unusual. The clause you'll see that we highlighted basically says that without having to do anything, other services, the law firm shall provide the following services to Lassen, including but not necessarily limited to the following. Represent the county of Lassen and any employee or elected official. Now this is a Child Protective Services contract. This is for consulting. And this, I don't know if you read any of this stuff, but County Health does. And it says represent county of Lassen and any employee or elected official of Lassen